Hello, entrepreneurs, dreamers, business owners, and happy people with high hopes. Welcome to Cashflows with your host, Cash Matthews.
All right. Hello, friends. Cash Matthews coming to you semi-live here on the Cashflows podcast. We're glad you're here with us today. We have in the studio with us our video producer, audio producer, podcast producer, and friend, Mr. Kenneth Baucom. Kenneth, hello.
Hello.
And we have Nathan Downs. We'll introduce Nathan in a minute. We're going to talk to him about business and his business and what's going on in his world. Cashflows is designed to help those people wanting to take a step, however small. We have a philosophy, Kenneth, called fire, aim, ready. And, and Nathan, I know you've probably seen this in business, is people want to do something or try something or attempt something, and they just never get around to actually pulling the trigger. Their life is one of ready, aim, and they never get around to doing the thing.
Yep.
And then you meet people like Nathan, I'm excited to talk to him today. Like when they pull the trigger, it's all guns a-blazing.
Yeah.
And I think there is a value. I think we all probably know people that overanalyze, analysis paralysis, or some. I know there's a fancy meme name for that.
I'm sure.
But here at Cashflows, we want to talk to people about taking whatever the very next step is. And we talk about important business questions and life questions. And, maybe we'll stump. We've had some great guests on our show, the last 17 or 18 shows that we've done that answer we have had some amazing people.
Yeah.
And I know you and I both probably have a favorite, but I don't want to call them out.
Oh, yeah. Not in front of Nathan.
I don't think that's right.
That'd be weird.
I was trying to Google, he's in the fence business. I was trying to Google some fence jokes. Yeah. And
he'd probably be defensive about that.
Ooh, yeah. Well, then we're going to have to put up his chain link.
We wouldn't want to be offended.
Oh, there we go.
Offensive.
Offensive?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. No offense.
There it is.
Sorry. My job right now is to shut up. I'm going to do that if I can. But actually, Kenneth, last night I was checking on my MySpace account.
Oh.
And after our show, and...
do you have to reset your password on that, or do they do that every few years?
No, it's the same, ABC123.
Oh.
Here,
we got to roll that back on the recording.
No, people can have that. It's still my same email, cashgolf@AOL.com. They sent me a new disc. I got my new AOL disc in the mail.
You have some more minutes on your account that you can log in?
Yeah, man, dude. I've got like 17 minutes left for the month. I am golden.
Man.
Yeah, so I'm going to go get me in a chat room.
That's right. Wow.
You've got mail. Did I do pretty good there?
That was pretty good.
That's all right. Yeah. Anyway, we had some comments about you.
Okay.
On our MySpace account and on our AOL account.
Right.
And there was a question.
On the discussion boards.
On the discussion boards, yeah. You made the boards.
The bulletin boards, yeah.
Yeah. You're the chairman of the boards.
Oh.
Yeah, so we were excited about that. I want to ask you that question on behalf of the people that are still out there on Hotmail, AOL, and MySpace. When you're working on a Commodore 64,
right?
You're entitled to your opinion, and the people had a question. They wanted to know something about you.
What was it?
Well, the question was, "Hey, Cash, say this to Kenneth for us." And then I thought I heard him laugh like like that.
Right.
But hey, ask Kenneth this question for us. And here's the question, Kenneth. What's a guy like you doing in a nice place like this?
Well, I appreciate the question, actually. What I'm doing today is updating my places to be awkward in list.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
and how's that coming?
Well, according to our blooper reel, it's coming great.
I like the word awkward because it's hard to spell. It's actually an awkward word.
It is.
And so you're researching places to be awkward. Well, here we are in the studio at Elevate Coworking in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Just another place.
Dude, you are right in your element.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. Well, let's get on with our show today. We're glad you're here. We are very excited to have our next guest, Mr. Nathan Downs. Nathan, welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So Nathan is in the fencing business. And how did you pick it? Get it?
Touche.
Don't answer that. Okay, now I'm going to choke myself. So before we get going, you have a podcast of your own. I wanted to promote your
Yeah,
podcast
I
today.
appreciate that.
If we could just lead with that. What is your podcast?
Yeah, it's called Protecting Your Radius Podcast. We really we use our examples from the fence and gate industry on what we do in business, how we deal with people, clients, customers, difficult situations. But it's really for trades contractors,
Right.
because we all figure out pretty quickly that everybody has the same problems.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're a plumber, an electrician, a fence guy. You could do all sorts of different trades, but we all deal with some.
The problems are fairly common.
Very much so.
Well, so anybody that's in the trades
Yeah.
ought to listen to your podcast.
Yeah, at least check it out for sure. Yeah, we've been doing it for all the way through 2023. Have about 120, 130 different episodes, different pieces of content.
Awesome, man.
To check out
well,
there.
that is
So,
fantastic. Well,
yeah.
we'll make sure that we go check it out as well and copy all the good stuff
There
that we
you
can.
go.
Yeah, that's a high
like
compliment
that.
to copy your friends. So
Yeah.
Do you think they've addressed on their podcast the big question about the Squatch?
yeah, I don't know. What's your opinion on Squatch? You know?
You know, I believe in Sasquatch so much that I actually have a Sasquatch Bronco sitting outside
What?
in the
Wow.
parking lot. So
If we could only pick up all of these microphones and cameras all at the same time without unplugging the cables and go look at that.
We could do the podcast from the bed of his truck.
We could.
Yeah,
That
we
would
could.
that would
Cab.
we should do that.
I don't. Lori probably wants us to leave it all plugged in for now, though. So
Yeah, well, she's like
Yeah.
that.
Well,
That actually sort of makes some sense.
it does
but,
make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so we are a show who's just asking the question: is Bigfoot real?
yeah.
And we don't know, but I mean, he's on a hat and he's on a sign,
Yeah.
and you know, we're wondering, y'all got any Squatch up in there?
I've got them on the side of my car. So I mean that has to say
Wow.
something. So
All right.
We'll have to check that out in between recordings.
Well, so Nathan, we met through mutual friends through Kyle Sullivan, who was
Yes.
a guest on our show.
Mhm.
Actually, guest number 1.
Yes.
Wow.
And we're up to 20 now.
Wow. So Kyle was the groundbreaker,
He
and
was.
And you guys are neighbors.
yeah.
You guys know. Yeah, Kyle's a great guy.
Great guy.
And but we also know you through this organization called the Business Owners Networking Group.
Yep.
And are you relatively new to that group?
I am very new to the group. Yeah.
Okay. What did you see when you were walking through the door?
Oh, just a lot of people that are excited. It reminded me of, just going to like a networking group that you don't really know anybody, but everybody seems real friendly.
Yeah.
And then especially knowing Kyle, that helped a lot for me, just having his expertise with the group and him knowing you as well as he does and stuff. So, I mean, it just, it's nice to see what you've done with the group and giving back. I think that's real important. That's why I started my own podcast, because I noticed that there were so many young people getting into my trade
Right.
that didn't know what they're doing, that don't know how to run a business. They don't ask the right questions or do the right things. And so that really, I just turned 40. So, shocker, all the white hair. But
Oh, I thought that was just painted on.
no. If I'm going to paint it, I'm going to go back the other way, back to black, how it used
okay.
to
There
be
you
a
go, back
couple
in black.
years ago.
All right.
Right. But we share a common theme as I've gotten older and being in the trade. I've really felt like I was looking for ways to give back, and I felt like that was an easy way to do it through the podcast, and then through the other networking opportunities and stuff. So
Well, we're glad you're here, man.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
our group just got over to 5,500 vetted members. We don't, we kind of, we don't want people from out of state or
Right.
non-Tulsa area. 70 miles is our radius. And there's just a lot of people in there, and it's growing every day. So we're very glad
That's
you're
awesome.
here and glad to make this
you.
relationship. Okay, well, we want to dig in a little bit. So first, if you want to talk to Nathan Downs, his website is radiusfence.com. You can also find him on Facebook under Radius Fence or Radius Perimeter Security. And his podcast is Protecting Your Radius. And for those of you in the trades or really just wanting to learn more about business, one of my favorite people that I study in all of business is a guy named Weldon Long, who's an air conditioning guy.
Yeah.
And man, that air conditioning guy has profoundly affected my life, my financial business, soon to be my podcast business,
Yep.
because good advice in the air conditioning business is good advice in the financial biz and the
Yep.
roofing biz and in the fencing biz.
Yep, absolutely.
And so I'm always, man, you find me somebody with wisdom, and I'm going to follow them around and take those little crumbs that they leave behind. So, well, let's talk about you and your business. And I want to know first about you, married, kids, all that kind of stuff, wives, all the pieces.
Yep, I've got one wife.
Okay, sorry.
Definitely outkick my coverage there. Her name is Ashley. We've been married for 17 years. I just told you and Katie that, right?
Yeah.
Two kids, a 13-year-old girl and a 10-year-old boy. So,
oh man, life's good.
Yeah.
That's
Now
the
it's getting
good stuff.
crazy. Now it's getting crazy.
So one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, and I love to ask this of all entrepreneurs, but your children are watching. Do they have an entrepreneurial bent at this young age, 13 and 10?
Both of them do.
Yeah? Tell me about that real quick.
So my daughter has already expressed that she's not going to college.
Yes.
And I know, right? I know, right? I'm a 3-time college dropout, so I'm like, I'm not one to argue with her on that. I said, unless you want to be a doctor or an architect or something, you go to college or a lawyer, but anything else, what do you want to do? And she said she wants to go to tech school. She wants to, in high school, she wants to become a hairstylist and do all the salon stuff. And then at 18, she wants to open her first salon. So,
man,
right?
Cool.
Come on.
Come on, man. That's the good stuff right there.
Nice.
And my son wants to, he's funny. He waffles back and forth. He wants to have his own fence company. And I go you want to have mine? He goes, no, I'm going to start my own and compete against you. I'm like, all right,
okay,
here we go.
There we go. Game on, man.
I will train him well.
Hey, son, I taught you everything you know, but I didn't teach you everything I know.
Exactly.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I love to watch the children of entrepreneurs. Like
me too.
What because you can't hide it.
Right.
I mean, as dads, we can all say whatever we want to do. But man, children are just watching. They don't care what you say. They watch what you do.
That's good.
And man, I love to watch the kids of entrepreneurs and see how they respond because it's just a different world.
It's true.
I was down at my older daughter lives in San Antonio, and I was down at her house, and I haven't done a lot of preaching to her, like, oh, do this, don't do this. I just wanted my life to be, sort of that speech. Your life is a speech to somebody.
Sure.
And I got down to her house, and man, I was so proud of her just because it occurred to me at that moment she really had been watching. I went into her bathroom, and she had her goals written up on her mirror in a dry erase, and she had a couple of sayings that she had written up there and some things she wanted. Like she had that was her day planner, and every time she looked in the mirror, she was thinking positive things.
Mm-hmm.
And this was 8 months ago, so she was 23, and we went to lunch, and she's 23 and she's working at a cookie shop. And trying to figure out her life, that's what she wanted to do. And I'm like, okay, absolutely, I support that. And she's like, hey, Dad, look, man, I wanted to tell you, I'm really struggling. I am not doing well. And I'm her daddy. Okay, baby, I got you. What's going on? She's like, man, I've been down here a year, and I'm trying to, be nice, but I've only managed to save $5,000. And I was like, wait a minute, you're paying your bills? Oh, yeah, I'm paying my bills. But I've only saved $5,000. And, I was like, well, honey, you know what? We'll just have to work on that. But but kids watch what you do. And I think that would be a great topic, are kids of entrepreneurs. Because we have so many entrepreneurs that we're friends with. And so thank you for sharing about your family. Yeah. And I think that's, I don't know, we could probably go for hours about that. Well, tell us about you. Did you grow up as an entrepreneur? Were your parents entrepreneurs? How did you get in the construction world?
That is a great question. Cash, I went to school trying to, my dad always told me, get a job, go to school, get a job, you'll have a great life, Well, and then I went to school and I hated school. I was great at school, but hated it.
Right.
Like, it just wasn't my jam. I got, and at the same time I was in the military, I was in the Air Force, and didn't like that either. Come to find out, I don't really like people telling me what to do. So funny enough.
Common thing of entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of how this all came about, because I got a job right after, I was about 24 years old, got a job at a manufacturing plant here in town, and they happen to be the world's largest manufacturer of steel fencing here in Tulsa. Go figured. No one knew that. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Wow. Rolled up there, got a job there, worked there for 7, 8 years. And the company sold out to an overseas company, really went from mom and pop to corporate. I was the square peg trying to fit in the round hole every day. Was the best salesperson. Sorry for all the other people that see this, that they know I've said it a million times, but
They know.
they know. I mean, it's just what it was, But that being said, I knew I had to do something different. I left that job in 2013, so 10 years ago, and was in the fence business at that point, right? And I said, oh, we'll try the contracting side. So I had a buddy doing a startup business, and his dad had a fence company, and just started working there. Quickly went over to one of the oldest fence companies in town and was running that within a year's time.
Wow.
And then, been doing that until about 2 years ago. We're right at about 2 years. I went full time with Radius Fence.
And Radius Fence is your company?
It is, yes,
and
sir.
it's Radius Gate and Fence?
Yeah, Radius Gate and Fence Company out of Bixby.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And then, do you do the swinging fence things?
Yes, yes. So we do everything. It's hard because our niche really is what our team does a really great job at is like the custom, the odd, if you want something that's not just a fence, you're usually going to call a company like
You're
ours,
the guy.
right? But we do the dog ear picket fence, like we do the simple ones too, all the time.
Right.
But our like I said, that's our bread and butter of what really makes us stand out from others is the fact of we can come in and because of I've got some really unique experience, we can design and customize things that no one else in town would even have an idea, unfortunately, because they've done the bread and butter, the picket fence, a chain link fence or whatever. But that got me into the gates. So I started doing gates in 2011 when I was still at the manufacturing plant and have done, we do all sorts of big ornate, but we also do simple cattle gates with an operator. And now we do the call boxes. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. We can do it all.
That sounds fancy.
It is.
That
it can be
sounds
fancy or it can be very simple. And that is kind of like my sales process through it. I really look at, and this is something I think for every entrepreneur watching or listening, is you have to understand that you need to be a problem solver in today's market. We talk all the time in my office about consultative selling. It's not sales used to be 20 years ago. It used to be, I've got product A, this, being in financial services. It used to be we have a product and I'm going to go sell the product.
Right.
But that's not what it is anymore. Now we got to figure out
those days are over.
Yeah, it's long gone.
Right.
Right. But today, with people being more educated than they ever have been in the past, right? You can get any information you want to know. You can figure out everything. You build your own fence. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can.
Well, you can do your own appendectomy too. So.
But like that's my passion with that end of it is that I see we look for the problems and we address things. We sell to and design each one of our estimates for our clients from the ground up going, I want to do an all-in proposal, not a here's what it is, but then I've got 97 change orders on the back end.
Oh, right.
Because that is a business move. I don't recommend it, but I don't like that because I'm not that guy. You know what I'm saying, Cash? I'm sitting there going, I would rather someone be honest and upfront. If you see challenges, if I ask the right questions, if I teach my team to ask the right questions, then we can provide a better service and a better experience overall. And we think we've kind of hit that.
So how did you go from working at a fence company to starting Radius Gate and Fence? Like tell me about the transition period when you're going, hey, it's me.
Yeah. So I always knew that I was going to do my own.
Right.
And even at my last job, when I was the commercial and access control manager over that whole half of the business, I told him I'd give him 5 years, ended up working 7. But yeah, I said 5 years, I'm going to go out and do my own thing. So I had an expectation in my heart that I knew I wanted to do that. I just never knew how it was going to come along. And I ended up working longer than I thought, than I said I would, how that goes. But
well, I mean, that happened though.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen, you've done very well in the fence industry. We're going to talk about some of the numbers here in a minute. One of the things about fencing, today's a different world, and people are more concerned about security.
Yes.
And my wife and I are discussing now building something on a piece of land, and she said, "What would the process be?" And I'm like, "My process for building a home on land would be buy the land,
yep,
put a fence up,
yep,
like start with security,
yep."
because we don't want to go, start building a house and not have it protected.
Right.
Do you guys have those kinds of discussions with clients like, hey, this is a fence you want for security, this
Yeah.
is a fence you want for, how your house looks?
All the time, because you got to think we're the experts, right? Like we see what is necessary for different threats that can come at your property.
Right.
So whether you're a commercial business or you're talking about your house
Right.
or like you're talking something rural land, the needs are different and they're very different.
Right.
But since we have a team that has like expertise across all bounds, I mean, we work from Midtown Tulsa, on a, where you just have a gate
Right.
and there's no fence. It's because the house is next to a house, all the way out to Mounds and up into Collinsville and stuff where there's lots of land.
Right.
We're having to figure out, well, what I start looking at the different things like what's the topography of the land look like? How much trees do you have? What do we
Right.
have to do about this? Where's the actual property lines? I've met some really, really cool people over the years talking about those jobs, and that's one of the reasons I got that Bronco, because I can sit there and be like, can I drive around your property for an hour and
Yeah.
just kind of mud out here? And they're like, shh, go ahead.
Heck
There's
yeah.
nothing here.
Okay, so
yeah.
I spent some time in Texas, and
Okay.
one of the big industries down there is deer fencing.
Yes.
And it's 8 foot metal
8 foot, yeah,
wire,
yeah.
Inverted kind of
Yep.
top. Like, I haven't seen that here.
No, we don't really, we don't really want it here for the most part. I
Right.
mean, there's going to be some properties. Like the only one I can think of that had anything like that was Garth Brooks' house up in Owasso.
Oh, yeah.
He had some 8 foot tall and 10 foot tall fence up there for the deer, but it seems like everyone else, because we're Okies, we're like, no, come on, deer, or we're not trying to trap the deer in. That's what
Right.
you'll find in Texas
Right.
too. They're trying to get them in, and then they're like, we'll
Yeah.
put that fence back up on that
Yeah.
side, and they'll never leave. So
Yeah. Well, here I think we're just trying to get them into the yard for dinner.
that's
Not feed them.
yeah, you're right.
Hey, it's backstrap time, so let's get me a deer. Well, so you were passionate then as you came out of the other job.
Yeah.
I've been an entrepreneur since day one. Like
Yeah.
it had to be that way since I was age 8. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. You tried college 3 times.
Yeah. So what I didn't say, Cash, was when I was 16, 17 years old, I started working on cars.
Oh, okay.
And I started my first business when I was 18 years old. And it's really kind of funny. We worked on race cars. So a lot of the
Wow.
guys knew me around time. We'd hang out at the drag strip there off of 169 3-4 times a week. And we did everything with like superchargers and turbochargers. So we were all about anything boosted. And this is 25 years ago when that wasn't now every car has a turbo. Like
Right.
I look at, or whatever, but that was very, only race cars or people that wanted to race cars had that kind of stuff. So I started my business, was working out of my parents' house, had a buddy with a shop out in Catoosa. We would be going around doing all these things. And I did that for about 1.5 years, 2 years, and then realized I had not made one dime.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why was because every single thing I did was a deal.
Right.
Like I dealed myself to death.
Right.
And so after 2 years of that and literally spending about $50,000 of my own money that I had earned, I started working when I was 14 years old.
Right.
So I had saved money, as a teenager, working full time, going to high school and stuff like that. I did work 40 hours a week. So I was already a hustler, I had
Right.
that in
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
But I literally wasted every dime, and my parents are like, what are you doing? You hate school, your business sucks, all these things. I'm like, yeah, this is true.
Very encouraging.
So yeah, exactly. But I actually met a mentor at that point who had a business, worked for him for a little bit, and he's the one that taught me sales. So he had a whole ecosystem and infrastructure within his business, and then that is how I got into sales and went to the manufacturing plant. So
Got it.
that was kind of a weaving way. But I've always been pretty like it was. If it's in your bones, like you
Yeah,
gotta
yeah,
have it
for
or
sure.
you don't. So
Well, good for you. And so I made a little money before I was 20. You and I are probably on similar paths. And somebody was asking me like, well, what'd you do with all that money? Like, I was overcome by fumes. And they're like, what? Like, I was overcome by fumes, perfumes, and car fumes.
Yeah.
And so you're one of the car guys that
Yeah,
actually turned it
yeah.
into a business.
Yeah, and yeah,
Now-
but like I said, I mean, it's tough when you don't have someone in your corner. I talk to Kyle about this all the time
Yeah.
because he's in the coaching space, and we were talking about this at the gym yesterday. It's so important for you to, if you don't know like what your next steps are, even if you do, but if you don't, like getting a coach or someone that can help give you just information in from the other end.
Right.
Because we're often too close to the situation to see what's going on.
Yeah, we have a blind spot.
Right. And you need someone to come in there and go, no, Kenneth, don't do that. No. You need to do this. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I need to do this,
Yeah, you look at all the great athletes, and the greatest ones have coaches.
Every time.
The normal guys down there going, man, I'd like to be like Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods or Jack Nicklaus. And I mean, Jack Nicklaus, one of my favorite athletes, but when he talks about his career, he talks about his first coach and his second coach, and how every year before the tour started, he would go to his coach and say, hey, teach me how to play golf.
Yeah.
And man, I love the concept of coaching. I have some people that I go to because we have blind spots, man. When you put your head down and you're focused on a thing, you don't know what's left or right. Often you know what's in front of you, but not. And that's like a coach like Kyle Sullivan or Eric Nam or any of these guys. We are blessed in Tulsa with some great business coaches, and
Sure.
man, we are fortunate. Well, so you guys are in the fencing business, and so is everybody else.
Right.
And we have
That's true.
we have a name for some of those people. We call them Chuck in a truck.
Yeah.
And
We call them the same thing.
And it's not a bad thing.
Right.
I have a lot of respect for somebody. They're just getting going. They've got supplies in their garage. They've got a vehicle. They've got a power washer. They've got a toolkit. They're pulling a trailer. I love those guys. I think those are the backbone. You're at a different level.
Right.
I mean, you're at a very different level than they are because you took the steps to be at a different level.
Yep.
It wasn't luck. You didn't buy a lottery ticket. So how do you differentiate in a market like this, especially when times are a little bit more challenging?
Yeah.
I bet a lot of your clients actually have money on some level.
Sure.
But so how do you differentiate yourself? I mean, why does, and I'm not going to use the picket joke again. So you can save your button over there.
Okay, thank you.
But how do people choose you over the multitudes that are also out there in your industry?
Well, the big thing is often because of our customer experience and that we talk about that online. So we line that up very clearly so they have an expectation of how we'll treat them, the information they give. Our team is more qualified than anyone else. We have more certifications and accreditations than anyone else in the state.
Okay.
Yeah, especially in our industry. And why that matters is because I've personally taken the time, although I didn't like college, it doesn't mean I don't love to learn, right?
Sure.
So like, don't get fooled by that. But I've spent a lot of time traveling all over the country, investing in myself, and investing in my team.
Sure.
To get the information to understand, like, what are safety standards that most of a Chuck in the truck may not know.
Right.
What innovations are there? Especially in a commoditized market where you're like,
Right.
it's very simple. You could go to Lowe's. You don't get me wrong. You could go to Lowe's and get any type of fence project you want to do. You could probably go to a box store and buy that stuff. But why do you call us? It's because we provide all the things that we provide. We provide the warranties and all that stuff. And it's just a professional experience. My big thing is the branding, right? Like just being able to, I've got a hat that has my logo, a shirt that has the logo. And then you look at our website and you start diving into who we are. The podcast actually has helped, believe it or not. I'm shocked, that I've actually had clients now that have said, hey, I saw on your podcast. And I'm going, oh no, this is not for clients. What are you doing on there?
Right.
Well, but the first thought I had, I was like, you're on the podcast? Like, I hope I wasn't talking about one of your friends or something, but
Well, it establishes you as an industry expert.
Absolutely.
And people want to know they're dealing with somebody, and I liked your comment that you like getting educated. You just didn't like college.
Right.
And college is tough. Freshman year of college for me was the three toughest years of my life. I struggled with it, but but you've gone out and done it. Tell me real quick about the certifications, because I did not realize that there are certifications you can get in your industry.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so
'Cause I think that really separates you.
sure. So the American Fence Association is the largest association that we have, and they have a handful of certifications for like a certified fence contractor, which is kind of like the overall one. There was a handful of them. I was actually the 6th person in the United States to get that certification.
My goodness.
I think there's maybe only 50 of us right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
And
you're the
there's-
only one in Oklahoma with it?
I think there may be 1 or 2 more now.
Okay.
But for the last several years, I
Wow,
have
what an
been,
advantage.
So, yeah. And then we've got certification courses and classes for our automation technicians. So for the gate operators, we were talking about that.
Right.
The techs that do it, designing that, like the sales and design side, there's a certification for that. Just being a certified fence professional, there's a certification for that. Just
Wow.
saying that you understand, and that one goes more technical for like ASTM standards and like UL compliance and some different things, real high level technical stuff. But why that matters is because most often you're talking to people that wouldn't even know what that is. You know,
Right.
they're like,
well,
I don't even know.
I learned about it at Now O'Clock. How about you?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's correct.
But I'm saying even within an industry professional, right? Like they
Right.
don't even know that there's a building standard.
Right.
Like there is. Well, I didn't even know that existed. I'm like, well, that kind of already tells you just by knowing that, you know, to your clients, if you can find things, it's like Chris Voss says in his book, Never Split the Difference, right?
Right.
He talks immediately about if you can find things that automatically differentiate yourself or immediately create yourself as an expert by even one verbiage. So if it's a certification, if I say that and that impresses you enough, you won't forget that fact. It doesn't
Right.
matter what the certification was.
Right.
But I know what the certification is, and I go, dude, it was freaking hard. Like I had to
Yeah.
read a book that big, you know, and literally
And
learn it.
Not just
learn
read it, but learn it. Yeah.
and
That's
be able to regurgitate it
big difference.
enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
And explain it and do it on our podcast and all those different things. So I think that's probably the biggest thing is, and the certifications are really cool because it's something that as an industry, we've recognized that you have other trades that are licensed,
Right.
like a plumber and electrician and stuff. So how do we get our industry respected? Because what a lot of people don't know about fencing and gates especially is we actually have to do all the trades. If you start getting into it, like
Right.
you think about it, you know, what does he mean you do all the trades? I mean, we don't just dig holes.
Right.
You have to read a tape measure. You have to read. I mean, you have every tool you can imagine. We're welding. We're doing all sorts of.
Well, you're
different
running
things. So it's
electric from the gate
Yeah,
to the
sure.
to the home,
There's
home unit, all of that. Yeah.
all different things that are going on there. That we hit irrigation systems all the time because your irrigation guy put it right where they want the fence to go. You know, so we're out there being plumbers. You know, so you start.
I'll
thinking about
remember
that.
to do that when we start to dig.
Yeah, don't do that.
Okay, so I need to be encouraging for a minute because I said something that sounded negative about Chuck in a truck,
Sure.
and I know that you respect all entrepreneurs.
Yep.
So let's talk to those guys for a minute. How can we encourage those guys to get a little bit better? I mean, I think
Yeah.
starting with your podcast
Sure.
is great for everybody.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, how do we help the small guy just getting started get a leg up?
Cash, that's a great question. I think you have to begin with the end in mind. I mean, we've probably all heard that saying before, but especially in contracting, you need to treat your business like a business. Don't treat it like 18-year-old Nathan did with the car business,
Right.
right? I never treated it like a business. I gave every friend a deal.
Right.
Like, and then everyone became my friend. Well, the problem with everyone becoming my friend was then no one ever paid me money to make money.
Right.
So I never knew I needed to make a profit until I didn't have a business.
Right.
Very often, a Chuck in the truck is a great example. You have a few resources. You have a truck, a trailer. You can go to a box store. You can buy this material. You can go out and build something. You have that wherewithal to do that. But you don't treat it like a business. You don't think it's a business.
Right.
So you don't sell it or prepare things like it's a business.
Right.
And that's the one thing that I did immediately. Like I knew I wasn't. So when I started full time, March of 2021, 2022, I'm sorry. I knew immediately that I didn't want to be the guy building the fence. Now, could I build the fence? Of course I could build the fence, but that's not what my strength is.
Right.
And that wouldn't get me to, because I knew where the end was. That
Right.
wasn't going to be the end, is me out there in the field building.
Right.
Right. And my guys knew that too. So I think that's the biggest challenge is getting things set up to where are you just doing it as a part-time gig? do you want it to be a business, or do you want to own your job, or do you actually want to build a business?
Right.
And then start building towards that.
Okay. Well, so this worked for you though. So we've talked a little bit about your numbers.
Yeah.
And I wanted to kind of put this in the middle of our day today. In about a 6-month period, you guys went to 7 figures. Is that accurate?
Yes,
Am
correct.
I saying that the right way?
Yep.
Okay. So just talk for a little bit, because I'm kind of raising my eyebrows, going, man, how do you go from 0 to hero?
Right.
Like just getting started, and in a post-COVID economy, like how did you do that?
Yeah, so it was still the end of the COVID blitz, as we call it now. We're finally in construction. The middle part of 2023 here is when we really saw the nosedive start to occur, right? So the last 6 months have been brutal on that end, because we're seeing the backlash of everyone wanting to do construction projects for 3 years, and now they're like, I'm not spending another dime.
Yeah, we're holding
inflation.
Yeah.
The elections. Okay, we get it. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Do you still need a fence? So that, fortunately, we are in a business where y'all are still getting dogs and have kids and have needs, right?
Right.
So, but how we got there so quickly was, again, I had things set up. I knew if I stayed out of the field and didn't do all the work myself, I could have my crews do the actual legwork, the grunt work, so to speak, right? So then I worked on relationships that I already built within the industry. A lot of things were just referral basis. I took all the referrals that I was using at my old job, like, I would get referrals, and at your job, you're sitting there giving the job all the referrals. Well, now I immediately were like, well, now if they call my cell phone, I'm going to go ahead and do that job.
Right. You develop the client.
Right,
sure.
Right. But what was amazing was, even in those numbers, Cash, we had literally no crossover of clients that I took a client from my old employer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
So it was all fresh. It was all just aggregated from nothing. And the big key that I had worked on first was getting the website up and making the website look like I wasn't just starting out.
Right.
Because I'm not just starting out, right? But I had my own, I had my own interpretation of how could I present myself in a way. And so, because no one knew who we were, a lot of people would call and say, so do you guys have like a local office or something? I go, why are you asking that? And they're like, oh, we know you're some big national chain. And I'm like, no, I just started. I don't know. And then yeah. So I done such a good job in branding. I actually went the other way, where people thought that we were a national chain coming into town. And I'm like, no, we just started this thing like 10 minutes ago.
Oh, wow. So, okay. I got it.
Yeah.
Well, so 6 months, 0 to $1 million.
Yep.
And what a great, I think that money sound is pretty appropriate. And I guess you've just continued from there. You've continued to have the right kind of success in our market. And
because the numbers, I talk to people about this all the time. The numbers matter, because it tells the story of, are you doing the right things in the marketplace, and is the market reacting to what you're doing?
Right.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs, especially for younger people like in the B.O.N.G, that don't know, if you don't know that it's hard, or you don't know that you're supposed to make money, like I think of myself as young, then you may get to the point where you work for a year or two and go, I didn't make any money. This is not very much fun, right?
Right.
But we've, in revenue wise, since in 21 months, we've done right under $4 million. So why that matters is because, again, we've developed systems and processes. So there's a lot of things we can unpack with that, Cash, but we've done all these things in preparation of being where we're at today, and in preparation of where we're going, because we know what we want to do. Again, we began with the end in mind.
Very cool. Well, we are talking today to Nathan Downs. Nathan is the owner of Radius Gate and Fence, and radiusfence.com if you want to look them up on the World Wide Web. We're going to take just a moment, take a brief commercial break. Mr. Kenneth, would you like to take us there?
Well, sure. So today, let's embark on a journey into the realm of affordable custom gifting and branded excellence with CM Customs. From custom trophies to personalized closing gifts, lake maps, drinkware, and professional branding items, we are your go-to for unmatched customizations, making you the hero of every occasion. Learn more at shopcmcustoms.com.
And we really love that dude. Clarence Shaw at CM Customs, been a big supporter of the Cashflow show and of the Business Owners Networking Group. And you know what's neat about business is just making friends with people.
Yeah,
My wife and I have been here 3 years, and Clarence Shaw was one of the first people. I'm sure we had a lot of business stuff to talk about. We haven't talked about it yet. But we just became friends and travel together and hang out together. So that I love that part of business as much as anything else. We are here today with Nathan Downs, Radius Gate and Fence, radiusfence.com. If you want to find him on the old World Wide Web or the internets, as we call them. And so Nathan has a great story today that we're hearing about how he took his company from zero to hero, 0 to 6 months, over $1 million of revenue, 21 months, $4 million of revenue.
Yep.
And so, one of our questions that I asked, and maybe unfortunately, because I called somebody Chuck in a truck, but I want to be encouraging to everybody, because it doesn't matter where you start. It matters the direction you're headed.
Yes.
And you have a thing to actually promote and encourage other entrepreneurs, whether they're your competition or not. I think there's enough to go around.
Yeah.
But protecting your radius is your podcast.
Yes.
That
Yes,
you
sir.
that you talk to the trades.
Yep.
I mean, that's that act of giving, Kenneth, I think is fantastic. It tells a little bit about Nathan's heart, and so thank you for doing all that. Well, let's carry on and talk about a little bit more about your plans and growth and business. And I want to hear about some trouble. There has to have been a speed bump or two along the way. But so let's talk about, from the time you started till now. I know you had to make some adjustments.
Yes.
So we call that in our world plan, do, review. Do the plan, work the plan, review the plan, then make the changes. What kind of changes and adjustments have you had to make to go from 0 now to 4 million in 21 months?
No, that's a great question, Cash. I think the biggest adjustments we've had to make were in areas of, I've always gone back to, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Amen, brother.
Right? So my integrity in the business is probably the most important thing to me. So I want to make sure that people knew that if we said we were going to do something, we would do it. Right. Now, in construction, that often is a very tall task to you keep track of that when we've got so many different moving parts. And we try to coach people up from the front end and be like, listen, it seems easy until you're the one in my shoes going, I got to get the materials. I got to find them. I got to get them. I got to get them here. Then I got to get someone here to get them in. Then I got to make sure they're actually putting them in. Then I got to make sure we're done. Then I got to make sure it's right. Then I got to make sure you pay your bill. Then I got to make sure.
Right.
So you have all these steps. So the first thing that I did, I didn't have it at first, but immediately, as soon as I hired someone in my office, we got a CRM, which is a customer relationship management tool, right?
Sure.
And that was a huge game changer, because we went from doing notes on our iPads and just taking calls and not having and I immediately knew quickly, this was in 2 months, I was like, this isn't going to work. I need to have, I actually need to organize this stuff. And then that was a big change. And then often a lot of people ask, especially for growing a business in the trades, do you get how do you look at growth? What are the main things that you're trying to find to make growth happen? Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of guys will invest in equipment, in machinery. It's all great. But my immediate thing was, if I buy another machine, that is going to keep me wanting to be on that machine myself. Right. And wanting that machine to make sure it's making money. As opposed, I looked at it and said, what if I could find people? What if my investment, instead of equipment and stuff, was in people? But I go out and I talk to my competition. I talk to these guys, and I find someone that wants to do something different, that sees my vision on the wall and is like, okay, I like where this guy's going. I can see what's coming down the road. So our recruitment process, and I didn't even go out and ask, just people knew what we were doing and how we were doing it. I've picked up a lot of team members over the first 2 years that are game changers.
Wow.
That we couldn't afford, didn't have the money, but the way, and I've talked to Kyle about this. I said, this is what you should tell everyone. So everyone watching this or listening should know. I never looked at him as it's going to cost me $80,000 a year to hire this person. I looked at it from the perspective, because I pay out weekly. I was like, how much does it cost me each week? Well, then how much do I need to sell to cover that person? Even if I just did it myself. So then now I'm just going to do that. And that's how I grew our team, is literally, I look at it like you don't eat an elephant, you don't eat an elephant in one sitting, you eat it one bite at a time.
One bite at a time,
that,
man.
right?
Yeah.
So I was like, how can I think about that with the proponent of people? Like, how could I take the people aspect of business and do it the same way? So I looked at it as from, well, the hardest thing to quantify is pay.
Right.
But then if I look at it from the perspective of the one bite at a time, if I look at it on a weekly nut, so to speak, then I'm like, oh, okay, well, I can figure this out. Right. And then we did. And that's how exponential growth happened so fast, because we went from 0 to 100 to 300,000 to and you start seeing that compound, but it's because of the people.
I think people will take you, and what a great place to invest money. And then that also creates loyalty.
Absolutely.
And then continuity, and your clients see continuity, and man, they love seeing that, you've done one thing for a while with the same people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They come back every week and you've got a new guy running the deal.
Right.
That's a challenge,
right?
I think, for most people. Well, very cool. Well, so tell us about this method that you've employed called the S.T.A.R method.
Yeah.
I want to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah.
I love your comments on investing in people rather than machinery. And I loved your comment, tell you, hey, if they're making 80,000, let's break it down to weekly. That's whatever that is, $1,580 a week. And
right.
I got to sell $3,000 a week to afford this person. And I'll guarantee that. That's bold.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is bold.
That's and I think there's a lesson in there as well about, hey, sometimes you just have to be bold and resolute that I'm just going to make this work.
Right.
And I'm good enough at the sales portion to bring this person in. And then eventually that person's selling the $3,000 a week.
Exactly.
And then they're paying for themselves.
Yeah. Then it's gravy. That's right. Thank you, Kenneth.
Do we have a noise for gravy?
No.
Okay, we now have a noise for gravy.
I have to get that loaded in the system for next time.
All right. Well, so tell us about the S.T.A.R system, or S.T.A.R method.
Yeah, S.T.A.R method. So this is something, when I first started learning sales, my original mentor taught me this, and it was really something that allowed me to, from a sales perspective, allow me to see people in a different light. So what S.T.A.R is, it's an acronym, and the 4 components of S.T.A.R, it's breaking down your personality type. But how we look at it is how we communicate with you, right?
Right.
So you've seen all the Enneagrams and stuff like that, but S.T.A.R from sales is really simple. It stands for structured, technical, action, and relational. And those 4 components, I can speak to you as a salesperson. Like, I know you're an AR, or you might be an RA, just by going in your office, right? So what that means is, like, a structured person needs everything very, absolute. Like, things are what they are. It's black and white. They have everything. Like, there's no clutter. You walk into that person's home and they've got all the picture frames are lined up perfectly and stuff. You're like, this is a structured person. The shoes, if there's shoes out there, they're in their cubbies. They're all, their mudroom is not my mudroom. So that's a structured person. A technical person, you can tell a technical person from a mile away, especially when you're in their office or home, because they're going to have, like, you go into my house, you got a 75-inch TV over here. You got all these gadgets and weird things. You walk into my office and you see 97 computers and you're like, is this guy a day trader or something? No, he's a fence guy. What does he need all this, like, electronics for, But, like, that's a technical person. They're very interested in how things work, in the technology side, they're very theory based. Like, it has to be, I have to understand this before I can make a move on it. Like, so for, like, your investment clients, like, no, I need to understand this investment vehicle before I can move my money into it. Like, that's a technical person.
Right.
Action is where I go first. So I'm an action technical person. I am pretty technical, but the action side's first. Like, I'm just like, I'm the ready, fire. We should have aimed. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Right. Like, so you're going to find people that are Like ex-athletes are usually going to be action type people. People with sports cars, that's an easy way to spot. If you have a sports car and you're listening to this, you're an action person. Probably pretty fair to say.
Okay.
They want things. They're about getting things done. They entrepreneurs very often can be. Doesn't mean you have to be this, but it's that personality where you're like, I'm just going to get everything done I possibly can and make it happen, right? And then the relational. And that's why I said I was looking at like what you have on your walls and your core values. And, if you're God first, family second, business third type deal, if you really care and want to invest in other people, if you love other people, that's that relational person, the person. So of the STAR for me, the R is like really, really small. Doesn't mean I don't like people. But like in the grand scheme of things, that's my minimal, like I'm not worried about how it makes you feel. Right. Like, but so why I had to learn this is because just like in that example, I have very little R to me on the sales side. So I don't care how it makes you feel. I care about like, I'm looking at it from, we need to get this deal done because you need to take care of ABC, whatever, because you already told me, Cash, that you want to do ABC. So you're going to do ABC. And like, oh, but that's how I learned how to sell when I was 20. And it didn't work, I was so action oriented that I was like, outselling, like I was the guy throwing the spaghetti against the wall. And I'm like, if half that sticks, I'm going to make some money. And I made some money, but it wasn't fulfilling. And that's where my mentor came in and said, you need to really learn this and hone this in and understand that there's these personality types. And then how do we talk to them to communicate better on the level of, especially if I'm doing like we do now, the consultative selling, marrying this with that, where we can explain, I need to understand your problems, Cash, but then I need to be professional enough to take this STAR method and give you the answers back in the way that you're going to hear, not the way that I want you to hear.
You want to give me the answers in my language.
Exactly.
Now, do you talk about the STAR program on your podcast? Can we find more information on your podcast?
I do, yeah. There's a couple. Yeah, if you look at the podcast and look up STAR, there's several episodes that we've done.
For those that want to look that up, and that is great training right there. And if you haven't done some kind of training like that, go find the podcast, Protecting Your Radius, and learn a little bit about this system of identifying the different personality types. I think that is great information. Well, tell us, what is next for Radius? What's 2024 going to bring to you?
Man, we're excited. I mean, we just brought on another person, Randy Ward. He was actually one of my mentors in the gate side of the business. I've been working on him, talking to him about doing something with me for 4 or 5 years now. And he came about a month ago.
Wow. Okay. So you're
big time.
You are actually, a lot of people make things for, that 2024 is my year, bro.
Yeah.
And it ain't.
Oh, man.
And, but it sounds like you're taking action to really get developed for 24. That's giant.
There's that action side of me. Yeah. My thing is, I know, again, I mentioned this before, and anybody in the trades is going to feel this right now. It's changed. Like we're going back. It's just a fact. We're all seeing what the economy has done. We've heard it talked about enough, regardless of how you feel about it, that, the economy's in a slowdown. Well, now everyone's money on your projects that we were just spending it nonstop over the last couple of years is like, we're not doing that. Like we're holding on to that cash. Yeah. And so I understand that it's going to be a challenging year in the trades in 2024. It's just going to be. The commercial side of the business is ramping up. It's going to be a great year for commercial. Residential is probably going to continue to see a slowdown, or at least it's going to go back to pre-COVID levels. Right. Which, unfortunately, for a lot of new entrepreneurs, they're not going to know what that was like, or they're not going to know how to react. So that's a challenge in and of itself. We call them COVID babies sometimes on my show. The COVID babies, like they're all baby businesses, but they're all like COVID started. And that doesn't mean that they need to change what they're doing, but they need to be aware of where we're at today and where we're coming into tomorrow. And that if you weren't investing in yourselves or getting better or whatever, it's going to be tough. You gotta be listening to stuff like the Cashflows podcast. You got to be, investing in yourself. You got to be learning. You got to be growing and all that. And so
I think that's the best investment you can make is just in yourself.
Absolutely.
And then people. So we are here today with Nathan Downs. And Nathan is Radius Gate and Fence, radiusfence.com, and a very successful business. What a great show we've had today. Nathan, give our listeners, all three of them, we would love to have a nugget from you about business, and I know you're an action-oriented guy. Let's hear your nugget to share with our friends.
Yeah, I think today the most important thing, Cash, to me is that people just get off the sidelines. I mean, if you're gonna say, like we're talking to entrepreneurs, if you want to be an entrepreneur, like do that, like actually do things to make it happen. Let's stop talking about it. Let's stop making it a dream and put our dreams into reality. I've worked at places where we didn't have a vision. And there's a book that I've read many times, and it says, without a vision, the people perish.
Yeah.
So why, that's a fundamental truth of the world.
Right.
Like, that's a guarantee. If you don't have a vision, if you don't have a plan, you're not going to go where you want to go. So take what you know needs to happen. Get around better people than you is another thing, right? The old Jim Rohn thing talking
Absolutely,
about, the 5 people around you, you're going to see who you're going to turn out to. Yeah. So get around people. Use organizations like B.O.N.G and yourself and,
thank you.
And get around people that are going to be better than you, that can edify you and lift you up, but then do the work. Because so many people today, I have talked to Kyle Sullivan about this many times. I feel so many people are out there and they want to be an entrepreneur because it's the cool thing to do now.
Sure.
But like I said, 20 years ago, I wanted to be an entrepreneur too when it wasn't cool.
Right.
And I failed miserably. And I'm like, so I see a lot of people wanting to do things and then they're failing, or they're like, oh, it just didn't work out. But is that true?
Yeah.
Like, we really need to evaluate that in our hearts. Like, did we really put out the work? Did we really do the things that needed to be done to make these happen? I often find that if you're not growing yourself enough, you can easily tell yourself, man, I did everything I could. I just hate when I hear people say that. And I'm looking at them from the outside looking in going, no, trust me.
I've always thought that entrepreneurship was really first a self-development program with a great compensation package attached to the back end.
Yep.
But what I found in my world was like, like I had 3 phases, and phase 1 was starvation, like barely paying the bills, barely making it happen. And then all of a sudden you find yourself, and it may take a year or 5 years, you don't know, but it's about paying the price. And then phase 2 for me was getting by. And man, I was so excited that I was getting by. And then the final phase was overpaid.
Yeah.
Like where you're like, hey, wait a minute. And it's sort of one of my favorite movies is The Matrix. And at the end, he's just fighting off the bullets effortlessly. And there's a period where you go to conscious competence.
Yep.
And your business and your life and things are much easier.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate that tip.
Good.
Nathan, thank you for being here today on Cashflows.
Thank you for having me.
Find Nathan on radiusfence.com. On Facebook, you can find him at Radius Perimeter Security, and he has a wonderful podcast, Protecting Your Radius. Thank you guys for being here today on Cashflows. I want to say thank you again to our sponsors. Thank you for believing in us. For those of you who share our podcast and listen to it and download it, we want to say thank you. And on behalf of the 3 people over in Shawnee, Oklahoma, who we know are listening today, and to the 1 person still out on MySpace checking in, thank you for that. And also for the 3 people that continue to like our posts and comment on our posts, we want to say thank you. And by the way, Kenneth and I are going to run over to Quick Trip if y'all need anything. Y'all have a good day.
That's our show for today. Stay tuned for another riveting edition of Cashflows.